7:17 a.m.
Now we need to make a motion to close public comment.
We can close the public hearing, or do you want to take staff comments during the public hearing?
Staff comments can be outside of the public hearing, that's fine.
Okay, so we should close it. All right, I'll make a motion that we close public comment.
I'll second.
There was a motion by Rich to close the public hearing, seconded by Carl, I heard.
Mm-hmm.
Any further discussion?
I just have a question. If we have a rebuttal question, can we ask that question if we've closed public comments?
You can, if you need clarification. I would try to stick to comments for staff.
Okay, but if I had a question to an audience member who raised something that staff member says something differently.
You also are free to reopen the public hearing if you feel that that's necessary.
Yeah, which we don't want to do.
Okay, which we don't want to do.
No.
All right.
Okay, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay, the public hearing is now closed. Staff comments, Denise?
I'd like to, first of all, if I may, defer to Charlie, and then I can add. Is that okay?
Sure.
All right, Charlie.
Okay. It's always tough going after all that because there's a lot of information there. Luckily, over my 17 years here, we haven't had to do this very often. It's tough because people get passionate, and I want to say first that all committees over years, fitness, tennis, they're interested. They want to do the best we can.
Sure.
You know, they're taking their time. I always appreciate that. First of all, though, there gets to be a lot of confusion and sometimes misinformation. And sometimes we just forget. When I was looking through all those minutes a while back, I looked and I'm like, oh, wow, I said that. I didn't even remember that. Of course, it was 3 years ago. First,
The tough part is that we all remember you said it.
right. I'm really confused about the mix and match. This is the Monday event we're talking about, okay? This event went through a committee, not the last committee, the committee we currently have, but a committee before that. It was the RAC committee. We went through this with one of the committee members. It was brought up during the committee. I was tasked to organize something with a social player, Mark Jasper. I had a committee member, Betty Smith, who is no longer here. She's moved on to another community. And we...
Oops, did I lose you altogether?
Yeah, I think you lost me.
Okay, go ahead.
And we sat down and organized this event. Now, understand that this event was at 11 o'clock. That's, in my mind, at this point in time, everything could change, subject to change, not prime time.
Okay.
So they're not in prime time. I get requests all the time by various groups about their 9:30 courts wanting me to give them the courts, and my answer is always no, no, and no, because it's in prime time. The only thing we have in prime time is the all-comers mixer, which I've been running for several years on Saturday, and that's kind of our introductory mixer every week. Okay, so mix and match. We came up with a format. It was discussed at several committee meetings and then implemented. And somewhere along the line, there started to become issues with this at the new committee meetings. Not really sure why. Like I said, it was discussed, not in prime time. We were running the event. I was part of it, which typically is the way I do a lot of these events. I will do as much or as little as somebody wants. In this particular case, they wanted me to do the pairings, and I even sent the emails after I did the pairings. They put out a Google spreadsheet, and as far as I know, I was never told that somebody wasn't getting to play. We were getting most everybody to play, and then would often book an extra court, and that was on first come, first serve. In my opinion, we probably need more of these than less. We do have a lot of social groups. I know of at least 2 other groups that will probably need to do one of these as well. Here's the problem. You can't include everybody. It's just not possible. Tennis is rating centric. It's not like golf where you can go out and I can give you 5 shots and we can go play and have a game. It doesn't matter. Tennis is rating centric. And all ratings aren't created equal. What happened to the Saturday mixer is a lot of players eventually moved on because they found a better game. Different time, there's various reasons. But a lot of this is because they didn't want to play with various ratings on that everybody comes social mixer. At our club, everybody's playing social tennis, okay? It's very organized, partly because we only have 6 courts, partly because we're a really strong tennis group like that. You can't just walk up to the courts and get a game. Some clubs you can. Some clubs with a lot of courts do half and half. Half the courts are booked, the other half you just come. That's not possible here. Everything is organized. So when a new person comes in, I'm usually the person that has to look and say, okay, this is where you go. Many of them do start in my mixer. Some of them stay in there if they're at that level. Most of them move on, though, after a while and find a group. So when a survey result comes out that says we like social tennis, here's the problem. My league players answered the same thing too. We like social tennis. So I really felt like the 2017 survey when that came out, because we were scratching our heads, hardly had any league players and had a whole bunch of people love social tennis. Well, they do. The league players like social tennis too, because they do play social tennis. All tennis at the club is social tennis, unless you're playing league or tournament tennis. So that is the reason why we're opposed to that rule. I mean, like I said, I think we should have more of these. If we're able to get the men's times changed to 12:30, we'll have more 11 o'clock openings. I would suggest that we have more events like we just did with the mix and match. But they're going to have to be leveled out. Otherwise, people just won't come after a while. You're either too good or you're not good enough and you won't come. That's typically what happens. That's just tennis.
Was this mix and match at 11?
It is at 11.
It has been the whole time.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
And then if they needed an extra court, which probably happened, I'd say half the time, they had extra overflow of players. And then I would put on the email that we have, here's our 3 courts that we have play. I would put a foursome down and we would say, okay, we have to book the court on our own and you get the court. And I think pretty much every week they did get the court. I don't remember any weeks that they didn't get the court. And early on, I think a couple courts even played at 12:30 after the match.
I think the issue that I heard was that that you were blocking time for people and they didn't have to go on their phones or whatever to make times. I think that was said, and that seems to be a
absolutely
point
that
of
was the
contention.
idea.
Yeah,
that was the idea that was put forth at the RAC committee when we discussed it, that we would block the times for these people. Otherwise,
no. I was there.
Okay.
I'm
sorry.
This is Charlie's time to talk, so if you could please, no comments from the audience. Thank you.
So it was your understanding then that you were asked to do this? That's what you're telling us?
without a doubt, by the RAC committee. We were there. There was a Betty Smith was on the RAC committee.
When I asked some of the people that spoke whether they saw that as an inequity, what's your opinion about that?
It would be if we had it in prime time, for sure. I had to give them 3 or 4 times. We negotiated the times with Betty and Barb at the time, and I gave them 3 or 4 options.
Okay.
And that's the time. We had an option at 11 o'clock on Monday. Next season, I know at 11 o'clock on Tuesday, we're going to have an opening because one of the teams is not going to be playing next year. That's why I said there's some possibilities. We still have a couple of chances. Some teams might play in or not. But I know that one's not happening. So right now, I know next season at 11 o'clock, I have an opening for something.
Okay.
It's like anything that I do, anything I organize. And I have discretion to do that. I can run a tournament 2 days from now if I want to.
Sure.
And just book the courts and say, we're doing this. There's a tournament. Here's an event. And now all those are open to everybody. Every event we run is open to everybody.
Okay.
Every mixer on the weekends. And the question is, some of these members are running some of these things. That's very normal. Many clubs will have people that are assisting in running this event. If anybody's running an event and they want my help in it, it just takes an email or come by. I'm not hard to find. And I will help you if you want to do pairings or anything else. Same thing I would do at leagues. I'm available to help you in any way you want if you need me to do that. But we're not booking courts in prime time.
So let me ask the question, because we're still talking about what is the perceived inequity. What is the issue with listing 11 o'clock as prime time as the current committee is recommending?
Good question. Right now, we have leagues at 11 o'clock. League is guest play. So it's hard to call that prime time when you're running 14 leagues at the club. 2 of them we make exceptions for and play earlier in the morning because we have men's leagues and limitations when they can start. I've said this before. I've just said this in a captain's meeting the other day. In Fort Myers, all the men's teams had to play at 2 o'clock. That's because they had so many women's leagues playing in the morning. We don't do that here, so we're attempting to make a move on that. I'm in favor of that. I don't have a problem with it. It's just up to the guys if they want to do that. And of course, ultimately, it's up to the league if they're going to let us do that. That would open up some more court time for us because we are one of the smaller clubs in town.
So there are some leagues that play matches during prime time?
Yes, we have two teams that have to, due to men's leagues regulations and days and times, that they have to play at 10 o'clock.
Do we have to belong to those leagues?
Okay?
If there are so many, if there are 7 men's teams, why do we have to belong to a league that tells us what to do when we have limited amount of courts?
Good question again. So first of all, leagues are, well, I'll put this secondly. If we don't have leagues, think of the court pressure. Every week, these leagues are playing at other clubs. All the clubs in the area, very few smaller clubs would not have leagues at their facilities. Usually they only have about four courts or something like that. Any club that has 6 or more courts is going to run leagues. Leagues are extremely popular. It was stated that how many players we have in our core group that are playing leagues. So when you take that number, if you're going, we have 250 tennis players, but we really have a core group that's about 110 strong. And most of these people are playing in league play. It's 70-something%, I believe, of my last bit of numbers I did. If we didn't have these, they'd all be here, instead of sending half of them away on different days. So our club, you definitely feel it because we only have 6 courts and we have a big active program here. I mean, we're not, we're run. You have to remember, we're not really, it's a different kind of tennis club here. We're not even, honestly, we're not really a tennis club. We're a community with an active tennis program. We're not selling a tennis membership. We have one, but it's extremely expensive. Why is it expensive? You don't want 20 new members. If you had 20 new members, we'd have massive court pressure. I just happen to have been here for a long time, so I know what the court pressure was 5, 6, 10 years ago, 15 years ago. Guess what? It wasn't much different. What's changed is it just ebb and flows of who's here. If we did get a massive influx, we'd be in trouble. We'd have to find some land to build some tennis courts.
Good luck with that.
Good luck with that, I know. Hey, I've asked in many of the spots around here, including when I first got here where those condos were, and they said, no thanks. But leagues are a necessary thing, and like I said, very popular. If they weren't, then you would consider not bothering with it. You wouldn't have those. But with our court numbers, they're needed. And as well, we've seen, as we've gotten older at the community, why do we need these social programs? Well, we have more players, they're not playing in league. I have some weaker players that are not playing in the league, they're not ready for league, that they might need to play in a social event and then move into something. The thing we're talking about here, the mix and match, is a lot of players that played in leagues for many years. And the real reason they're not playing in leagues is they just decided they're tired of it. They just don't want to play competitive tennis anymore. They want something organized and at their own club. Remember, this is member play here. We're not inviting anybody else. We're not even inviting guests for this. So they're looking for an outlet. We did keep score. It was very social, very relaxed. In the end, we had a little prize. And it's kind of really a shame that it's come down to this, where we're kind of having a back and forth about it. Like I said, I want to do more of these. It was very successful.
So let me ask you, let me ask you the same question I asked a few other people. Is there still room for discussion and to come to consensus on some of these things? Or do you feel it's done?
I think there's always, I just think we have to come to an understanding of what one of these is going to be. So, and here, the whole sticking point here is just allowing everybody to come to this event. And that's just not going to work. That's exactly why my all-comers mixer used to have 48 players every week. And that's something you did at the beginning. I used to have 4 of those mixers. And then everybody just moves off into their own little groups. And that's what we're talking about here. And I have to make that decision. There are ladies who want to play on some of these league teams that basically it comes down to me telling them they're not ready for it. And that's usually just a player who is very close, but not quite at that rating, is not going to get a lot of playing time on that team. So we need another outlet for them. There you go. This really should be the other outlet, is to say, I have something else for you. Somebody said in a ladies' meeting the other day, it was really good, everybody needs to have a home, something to do. So, and organized, because we are organized here. That's the thing. You're not just coming out and finding a game out here. It's a little different.
Charlie, notwithstanding what you believe to be understand the the former rec direction to you on this mix and match program. Do you see a real issue of what the current committee is recommending relative to the mix and match and scheduling?
Well, it's not that, obviously here, I'm having an issue with what the committee decided. We have a whole group of residents that are against it. And normally it's one or two people. It's not one or two people here, so, they're not happy with that direction.
Well,
and I don't disagree with them on that.
I would
Is it
recommend you
substantial?
say, we have a lot of people here against it.
Yeah.
But I started on the facilities committee in 2017, 6 months after we became residents. And I've been hearing this issue since 2017. So I'd like to get away from the anecdotal stuff right now. I believe, at least from what I've heard from Alan Lands and the RSAC committee, that there is a real issue with input to their committee on discussion on the mix and match program. So I'd ask again, is there, from your viewpoint, if there was an adoption to, I guess it's rule number 1 that we're talking about, is that a problem?
The real issue we've had is that social players are been feeling like they didn't have anything to do organized and didn't want to play league tennis. So that's been the issue, and that's why we came up with mix and match.
Well, I understand the mix and match, but the issue on that is, as Chairman Bracco said, there people feel that some people were more equal to others in the scheduling during this time period. And I think that speaks to, at least from my understanding, I'm not a tennis player.
That was the impression I was getting.
I
I'm
throw
not a
my
tennis
hands
player.
up and say, if that's the issue, why don't we let the residents relative to that time period do the mix and match rather than having what is perceived to be, Charlie, this is not personality, please, believe me, perceived to be in inequity.
May I comment on something? I don't know if you all remember a couple years back, at least 2 years back, I can't remember if it came before the board, but the things that people were saying is, we don't have enough programs here. We don't have programs. We need programs. That's why we're going to other places. We don't have programs. And that's what we did. We did this as one of those programs. You can do tournaments, do the mix and match and stuff. So we started this as a program, and we started small, okay? These ladies wanted a group. Let's start with the 3-5s. And our goal was, okay, let's do a 2-5-1. Let's do a 3-0. Let's do a 4. Whatever we could get, if they came to us, let's do this as part of this getting programs. And that is in the right of the tennis directors set up programs. So we did it, and these were ladies from the committee, went and talked to the committee that we had met. They chose a day. We offered them Saturday. They didn't want that. So this was the time slot that they chose with fewer courts. And now it's like, because that's what program does, is blocks courts when you do a program. So you either want programs or you don't. If
Why
you
didn't
take
you-
away blocked courts, there is no such.
All right, so mix and match has been around for 4 years?
No,
One
this
season.
particular one has been one season.
Carl, didn't you just say you've heard about this for 4 years?
I've heard, what I've said is I've heard about issues relative to play on the courts for that time
Okay,
period.
That's
all right. Oh, I thought you
And if
were,
I wasn't clear on that,
I thought you said
apologize.
the mix and match for 4
No,
years.
the mix and match is
It's not a year.
relatively.
The issue's been with this group of ladies wanting social time.
So you haven't had a chance to do another program for, let's say, 2-0s?
No, because this became just, this clash from certain people almost instantly. And we thought, well, let it go, maybe they'll do, and this part in here where it says blocking time for weekly social tennis programs for Venetian residents, The tennis staff shall not reserve or block court time for weekly social inter-club tennis, intra-club, meaning no outsiders,
I understand.
unless the social programs are open to all Venetian residents, except that social program may be segregated, of course, according to gender and level play. That's what we're doing.
Right.
This was a ladies' court.
So this is like a
They were
3-5. Yeah,
3-5s.
okay.
They were women. Boom. So this is exactly what we're doing. There's nothing wrong with number one. The second part in the event, blah, 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 that does need to come out. And Mr. Land said that he had talked to Mrs. Jasper about that, and that was an issue that she had, and they agreed. And then all aspects of every social tennis program, selection of players, pairings, shall be run by the tennis professional. This rule shall not preclude tennis players from reserving their own court time for social. And so in essence, that's what we did. So I'm not sure what the big to-do is on number one, except
Well,
they're against us.
isn't the issue because prime time, 11 has now become prime time?
It has not become prime time.
Well,
They want it to become
Well,
prime time.
Can it be?
in the committee's mind, it's 11 o'clock is prime time. And if Charlie's booking courts for social tennis people during prime time, it's an issue.
Well, see,
It seems like the one is tied to the other to me.
Well, this was before anybody even entered their mind or the committee discussed at all the 11 o'clock. So there's sort of two different issues. I don't think that's where the issue is on this. Like I said, we're doing number one.
But,
Well,
hold
let me just, maybe I misunderstood. And maybe because I'm not a tennis player, but to draw an analogy, Wednesday is men's day at the golf club. A sheet goes up. Chris doesn't put names on it. You sign yourself up.
Right.
What I understood here, unless I'm wrong, is that time is blocked and people are put in those spots, which eliminates somebody else's opportunity to play that game. That's what I understood. Am I wrong?
No, that's what
Well,
this
that's-
is. It's an organized event for the social players.
Yeah, but
in that
it's the same,
particular group.
it's the same social players.
Sure,
Can
well,
I
there's 20 or 30 of them on the list. Now, we could have more of these, you know.
why not? Why isn't there another one?
But you're talking about that at the golf club.
I'm just using
Yeah,
that
No, but I'm saying.
blocking time. I understand blocking
He is
time.
blocking that time for you.
But fine,
Right.
but then the onus is on me to sign up.
Yeah, and the onus is on them to sign up. We're not.
But that's not what I
signing
heard.
on.
That's not what I heard.
They have to.
I
they have to
heard-
Say we're playing on that day, right?
They sign up within their own, their group signs up, and that's first come, first serve in their group.
So they email in, and it's who emails first, and that's why they have that thing. If these people down here don't get a play, the next week they should automatically be in. That's where you get in the event they couldn't get in. So it still is first come, first serve, but it's within 3-5 ladies. Or if we did one for men, it would be within 4-0 men or 3-5 men or whatever. I don't see anything with number one passing that. It's just, we're doing though, it is, they don't like that we set it aside for the women, and here it's saying, let's make it.
Okay, so you agreed to number one.
If they take out in the event, blah, blah, blah. But then when we do set up a time, they can't be complaining about. We had this, we did this, and it was nothing but complaints about the ladies with that group. So I'm confused about.
Here's what I'm hearing, that 3 courts, I guess, are set aside in this mix and match.
Mhm.
And people are self-selecting in, which is really to the exclusion of other players in the club. So I go back to things that the chairman and I have talked about relative to this perception that there are certain players in this. And I would ask the question, if it's mix and match, why can't this be open in general, without reserving a court, for all the tennis players in the community to say, you know what, I'm a 3, but let's play with that 3-5 person, or the 2-5 or the 4, and have the equal opportunity in these time slots to play. And if we go to 11 o'clock prime time, it probably eases some of the things that we've been talking about.
The only way we would make 11 o'clock prime time is if our men's leagues move to 12:30. And you're still going to have three days a week where teams are playing 11:30.
Well, okay, but if you have the 11 o'clock prime time, I mean, you've already talked about the fact that you have to make some adjustments. Don't you have a couple of men's teams that are playing during prime time now in the morning?
Ladies teams, 2.
Okay, okay, so I don't understand why there's a big objection to 11 o'clock being a prime time with the ability to make adjustments for some of these other issues.
Because all of our teams are playing 11 o'clock. So the argument of the mix and match is we can't get courts at 11 o'clock, but we're allowing 5, 6 teams to do it. That's their argument.
The highlighted section, is that saying that, pick a number, we got room for 20 people, okay? 27 people want to play. So 1 through 20, the first that sign up get to play. The 7 that didn't, wouldn't it be, isn't it this saying they should move to the top of the list for the next week?
We've tried stuff like that before in fitness, and
That's what, because I know that does happen.
we tried it in fitness, and we did it for years ago, and we brought that up.
Mhm.
It was chaos though the next week. I can't make it. I can't get this 2 weeks in
Okay.
advance. I can't do that. Now, obviously, honestly, I didn't hear any complaints. The organizers with me, the ladies didn't hear anything. We had a good solid group. I'm sure that maybe 1 or 2 people did, and they didn't want to come to me because they went to the committee, I guess, instead. I don't know who they are, so I never had to deal with saying, well, you're just not at this level, or, we don't have time available for you. But everybody I know that was, from my knowledge, that was in that event was fine with if they didn't make it in that week, or they had to move to a different time. So whoever it was that could not get in, I was never approached to solve that issue.
Any other questions about Rule 1? Can we move on a little bit, and so that we might be able to get?
So again, the only objection is in the event,
In the event.
okay, that the party can't play. That sounds to me to be quite fair. And doesn't give someone a vested right every week in playing at this time. So why are we against fairness? I don't understand.
I was asked to put this together. That's all I did as part of my job. And in my realm of what we call prime time and how we organize events, I organized it. And we ran it for the season.
So shouldn't we be about?
Just like any league that comes in, we had a new league, I would have to see if we have court time available for that league. No different.
Shouldn't we be about fundamental fairness? You had more so as the professional here. For everyone.
If you pass number 1.
No, I want to hear his response as the professional.
I'm sorry.
Shouldn't you be about promoting fundamental fairness to all tennis players in this community?
If I have more tennis players in a specific group
You're
that want
not
to,
answering my question. And the only thing I'm not going to say, counselor, why can't you just, answer the question? Shouldn't you be about fundamental fairness? And if so, this particular recommendation rule addresses fundamental fairness to all the residents.
that rule is just going to basically kill that event,
That's called begging the
which
issue.
it already has.
That's called begging the issue. Okay, I see where we're going here. So,
If another
Richie, you
group,
want to move on to the next one?
Well, I don't think it's gonna kill the issue. I think this says we can do that. We can make as many of these as we want. It's saying we can't do it unless it says they'll not reserve a court unless they're open to all residents. That's what it is. It's not saying you cannot do this. We can do this every day of the week now if you pass this. But they have to stay off the, they can't be, I guess as it says, the tennis staff shall not reserve a block of time for weekly social intra-club unless the social programs are open to all Venetian residents except we can say ladies 3-5, we can say men's we're open. So this is giving us authority, which we already have, but they want it in a rule, to set up a program, and it doesn't say not prime time. It says set up a program, which we did, but it caused all kinds of contention. We did number one, and it caused contention, which I'm not sure why. But I'm personally, number one, if you take out that you get to be first thing, the reason being is if the day of the tournament, somebody comes up and says, Charlie, got room for me? No. Oh, good, next week I'm number one, I get to play. They can do it last minute.
What's wrong with that?
It's first come, first serve. So there's got nothing to do with.
See, we want to move away from this perception that people have vested or special rights at that tennis court. Okay, that's what all this is about. And I'm not a tennis player, but I understand fairness, and that's what we should be about. So again, I think it speaks for itself, and like the chairman said, we should move on.
Steve has
Yeah.
something to say.
If the issue here is, if I don't get in this week, I'm number one to get in next week. Is that what we're debating here?
That's a secondary
Yeah.
issue. The whole thing is that we're gonna have this event and anybody can come to it.
But it says.
What does anybody mean, Charlie?
All levels, anybody. It's open to everybody.
No, it doesn't. It says except they may be segregated according to gender and level of play.
Sure.
So we can do that. This is not just a mix and match. This is a program for specific people, specific levels.
And that's what we want.
And that's what we want.
We all agree on that part of it.
Yeah.
Okay,
It
what
says
don't we
gender.
agree on? What don't we agree on in here? What don't we agree on?
In the event, because it's first come, first served, that's easy enough. And I
Okay,
think
yeah.
the committee
Well,
wouldn't have.
Go ahead, Denise, please.
But also my confusion is, this is exactly what we were doing, and there was flack with it, saying it wasn't fair, that we blocked courts for them. And this is saying we can block courts. So that's where my confusion is, because we were blocking courts and you heard it, it's not fair, they're blocking courts, we have to hit the button,
That's
And this is saying we
not,
can.
that, unless I'm missing something here, that is not what we're talking about. We're not talking about blocking out an hour and a half time period. We're talking about limiting the number of players to a certain part of the population, and they're already in. They don't have to put their name in. It's already done from this week to next week to the month of July. That's what I'm hearing. Am I wrong?
They have a sign up within their group. It's a group, and they have a sign up, and it's first come, first serve in that.
How do
group.
I get in that group?
You talk to me or the organizer.
All right, so follow it through, Rich, because I want to make sure I understand all this.
Okay, we
brings
had
up
one
very-
recently at the end of
Okay.
season. You
Ernest
come in,
brings up a very good point about
You're-
fairness.
you're-
It's got to be all about fairness.
you're Jane Smith.
Yeah.
Right.
Jane, you interested in league? No, not really. Let's see, I watch you play. Okay, I've seen you. Hey, you know what? You'd fit in great with the mix and match group. All right. Email goes out to Barb Jasper. Barb, Jane Smith, here's her information. Contact her, put her in the group. She's in.
Okay, so.
Simple as that.
It's no different than a league player comes in. All right, great. You want to play league? Okay, let's evaluate your level. Fantastic. Bum, 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 bum. Okay, boom. Email to the team
All right.
captain. Got a team player for you. I have like 3 of them right now that I have to
All right,
email
let me-
players, coaches, captains this week
All
that
right.
I have, that they don't even know who their names are.
So I'm in. I'm in this group.
You're in.
Do I get special time to play?
The court's already blocked out for the mix and match event, 3 courts every Monday at 11 o'clock.
Yes.
Okay.
So now the email blast goes out with, It's their own personally. They have 30 ladies on the email. Goes out Sunday night. First come, first serve. We did the timestamps.
How many can get in? About?
Well, 12.
Okay, so 18 are not gonna get in.
Well, not every, that's your core list, but it was rarely ever that. Half the time, maybe we had an extra core, maybe you had 3 people.
But Charlie, it's no different for that group than it is for anybody else that signs up randomly to play tennis. They may get in, they may not get in, correct? It depends when you hit the button.
Sure.
Okay, so what are we arguing about?
Because the ladies want.
Sorry, Alex.
No. I'm trying to understand what we're
So
arguing about.
the issue is, I think that because they've got those cords blocked off.
They
That's the
mean,
problem.
the social group.
Right. Now, when I went through this with the rec committee, we blocked off 11 o'clock courts like all the other leagues, and we're going to call this an event and put in and out of different people on that list. Just like any other thing would happen in tennis.
Wait a minute, back up. Say that all again. That last part.
When we organize this event, it's not at 9:30, it's not 8 o'clock, it's not in prime
11.
time, it's in outside of prime time.
I thought it was 11 o'clock.
And that's not.
It's not prime time.
Okay.
Not yet. anyway.
Not with 14 leagues playing at the same time. How could that be prime time?
All right.
At this point,
All right.
could change.
So I just want to make sure we're all understanding here. It allows people to play in a social game. They have to sign up. It's a first come, first serve.
Within groups,
We're blocking the
Steve.
courts. though.
What do you mean within groups?
Sure. Another example. I have this all the time. Won't use any names. We got a team, league team. Great. And Betty Johnson here wants to play in the team. And I said, all right, Betty, you want to play in that team? Great. Talk to the team captain. Well, Betty's not that good. Okay. Charlie, can I get on this team? It's up to me to basically tell Betty, sorry, Betty, they have a full roster.
Right.
You're not going to get a lot of playing time. So Betty's out of luck if they don't want her on our roster. It's no different than anything else. That's just tennis. That's just any sport. So Betty could get better and eventually get on the team. Maybe we have another team that we could get Betty on, or Betty can go on one of our programs. That's what I thought the whole thing was. Now, more of these programs. Betty might fit in perfectly with mix and match.
Okay, so what are we arguing about?
Well,
What's, because
I don't
I'm lost here, folks.
I'm hearing that because of the way the groups are set up, there's information about when the times are, and people within, I guess, that social network of those groups sign up and get it into play, and there are other people who can't do it. Let me point out one thing, Steve.
Go ahead.
When I was running for this board seat,
Yeah.
and
You're rethinking that now, aren't you?
where did the resignation letters go? We pointed out one thing, that since 2016 to 2020, when we were all, the 3 of us were running, there was something like a 40% turnover of people in this community. Meaning, people selling and newcomers coming in. I just don't understand why we're so set on the rules of the rules of the rules, and yet we're not listening to what the voice of, I think, the general population is coming through the RSAC committee, headed by Liaison, with Liaison Booker in there, and listening to what the issues are in the current system. And I think that's the issue.
I'm very confused
I
because
disagree.
we've been hearing about this social group for years. They've been asking me, this was the first season we actually did it, and now we have a problem with it. We hadn't done this before. This is the first year we did this.
Charlie,
Would the solution be to do another group
there you go.
similarly at a lower level, open it up to more people, or do a mix
There you
and
go.
match 2 to open it up to more people?
Of course,
There you go.
we can do as many as we need to do,
And there's space available at 11 o'clock?
but they're still gonna be the same way. If you're gonna keep these things going, they have to be rating centric.
I have no problem with that. I I
I
think,
understand that.
Charlie, you
And
said
first
that
come, first
earlier.
served usually works.
but if you had another group that was set up to be more beginner players or intermediate, whatever, however you want to term them, wouldn't that take the pressure off of people not being able to get into this mix and match? I don't understand why we can't have mix and match too.
I don't have the list, I never got the list of the people that weren't getting in the mix and match. I don't know who they are.
Yeah.
I didn't hear about them. So if I have somebody who wants to come into our Saturday or Sunday groups, which are very popular and very rate eccentric, and I send them a name of Bill Johnson here, and Bill isn't at that level, they're not gonna be too happy with me. I verify all the levels of the club and try to make sure I get everybody in the groups they need to be in so they're comfortable, and the group I'm putting them in is comfortable.
Charlie, you block time for league play, correct?
Lots of it.
Okay.
Sure.
If I'm not a league player, I'm getting shut out of playing at league time.
Well, not really. I mean,
What do you mean, not really?
well, if you're a league player and want to play in a league,
I'm not a league player.
okay, so you're a non-league player.
Now I'm getting blocked out of being able to just go out there and enjoy
You
playing
have
tennis.
all the open court time in the morning, first come, first serve, and there are other groups that play. They're member run.
I'm with you. That's no different than what you're saying about blocking time for this social thing. You block time for league,
Right.
so now you want to.
Because this was organized, we blocked the time.
No,
We
I'm
have to
with you,
block
I
the time.
understand. I think, so the argument doesn't buy that we're not being fair. There's a lot of inequities.
If I had the list in front of me of 7, 8 names, oh boy, these people just could not get in, I might have, I'd have to deal with that. I don't have that list. I've never seen a name of somebody who couldn't get in.
Mr. Chairman, can we go to the next rule? It's the, I mean,
Yes,
I
I
mean,
had
we
suggested
gotta
that we
move this
do move
along.
along.
Okay, so it's acceptable.
If in the event is taken out, everything else, and I think what the committee, one of the concerns that open to all Venetian residents, what they mean is, it can't be a clique. So-and-so doesn't like you, so we're not gonna let you in. We can't let you in if you're a 2-0 and we're 3-5, but if it's just because I don't like you, I can't do that. And I think that's one thing that has to be, they have to come to us. I tried to get in, they didn't want me to play. We can't discriminate that way. We can't be unfair that way. But this rule is not really unfair. It's just blocking the time. And if people think that's unfair, well, then the leagues are unfair. So I think what they mean is some people were maybe discriminated against and not able to get in, and they were women and they were
You don't have to think about what they mean.
Yeah.
We have the people here. Is that acceptable? I can ask that to if Indian Vin is out. Alan?
I mean, it's gonna be less fair to the people that play in this group. And remember, this is an exclusive group. No one from the outside of this group was allowed to play at 11 o'clock on Monday. The only people that could play were the
So
ones that
we
were
stand by the
hand-selected.
rule. We stand by the rule as is.
By Barb Jasper and whoever else was her co-captain. No
Okay.
one else could get in the group.
Okay.
This rule prevents that. and allows-
Okay, I'm sorry I broke
Okay.
rules here,
Okay,
but you stand on the rule as is.
well, I think the rule is better as is, but if a compromise is necessary, I was willing to compromise.
Okay, then,
And we did have a
we
compromise.
got somewhere.
And then
We
she-
got
then she-
something. Thanks,
then she-
Alan. Thanks, Alan. We got something. Let's
Okay.
move to the next one.
So, Mr.
Can we-
Point of
I
order
think we
here,
got
Mr.
some.
Chair. Can you tell us what we're taking out so we can understand it?
Indeed,
No, until we discuss amongst ourselves, I can't tell you that.
Okay.
Because I don't know. Right now, we're getting input from staff. So we have not, as a group, discussed it.
Okay, so Denise says that's acceptable, okay?
And maybe what's gonna happen here is that we're gonna get all this input, and I don't know if we're gonna be making decisions on all of this today.
Okay. We won't do anything till you come back.
Okay.
He
Well, I'm
needs to step out for a minute.
Okay, then let's go to the ones that are, let's go to number 4, number 5, and number 7. All of those, everybody's okay with those?
Well, Rich, we still haven't decided is 11 o'clock prime time.
Well, that's one of the-
That's key to 4.
That's one of them.
That's key to 4. And key to 3. 3 and 4 are,
What is prime time is a question that I had when I read this whole thing.
the committee seems to think that 11 o'clock, or wants to make 11 o'clock prime time. Management doesn't want to make 11 o'clock prime time.
But they're only talking about in season, correct?
Pardon me?
Yeah, off-season doesn't matter.
Right. So you're only talking about in season. You're talking about from October 1st to April 30th.
So my thoughts on prime time are times where most people want to play on the courts and it's resident play, and at this point, or their guests.
Now, and I heard you say, Charlie, if the men's group moves to 12:30,
Yeah,
then 11 o'clock.
there'll be more, it's still going to be some league play in there, but it would open up quite a bit of, what was it, about 3 days? About 3 days, I think, will open up at 11 o'clock, so that would be helpful, although a lot of what I think is at that time, that we have other groups that might want to do something similar to mix and match.
The mix and match 2.
Could go.
Or multiple ones.
Why not?
That'd be great. That
Why
would be
not?
Great.
So what does it take to move the men's group to 12:30?
The league has to agree.
And
So they've been asked already by us. They have to have a meeting about it. At some stage, they would check with us, check with me, if that was something that we wanted to do. They've asked us to, look at every other thing, because you have to realize that there are issues with that time. It's much later. It's much hotter. There's a sun issue. There's other players on other teams that might not want to come here that late. Most of the clubs, because we're one of the smaller clubs, that's why we're looking into doing this. Most of the other clubs have enough courts, it doesn't really affect them.
But
They
again,
have a
this-
league match going on, they have 6 courts open.
this only applies from October to,
Yeah, October to,
So I hear what you're
mid-March,
saying.
end of March.
I hear what you're saying about the heat and this and that, but generally by October, we're in pretty good shape. And, come April, it's a little sketchy, but,
Sure, I get
Don't
it.
you-
Like I said, in Fort Myers, I worked down there for 6 years, 2 o'clock was the men's time. So it's not unusual, and they were only at 2 o'clock because of all the ladies' leagues.
Right.
So that's gonna be up to the league though.
So the
And
league can
we
tell
had a
us-
captain's vote while we were at the meeting. They did vote unanimously, not unanimously, majority-wise, that was for. Now, this hasn't,
They voted-
it's very premature. We haven't put this out to a lot of the guys either.
well, you're the boss.
Sometimes it seems like. Yes, and I'm in favor of it. I think it's a good idea.
When he says the league, he doesn't mean ours.
No, I understand this
Yes.
governing group.
Exactly.
But the majority of the people that attended the meeting, you just
We had a captain's meeting.
captains
And
meeting.
we had
They were-
all
they were in
the
favor.
captains except one, and I did broach the subject with the captain. It wasn't there, and he didn't give me an answer, agree or disagree, but he'd be outvoted anyway.
These are our captains
Yes, sir. All the men's captains.
here.
All right, so if that got moved, it would solve some issues here.
It definitely would. It would help.
So then 11 would become prime time?
Prime-ish time? Yeah.
Prime-ish?
Yeah, no, I mean, you still have leagues at that time, but it would open up quite a bit. I mean, you're talking a lot more court time.
Good solution.
And as you can see here on the sheet that I gave you, we have open courts. Now, and Alan was very correct on that. It's a percentage here or there. It's gonna happen. I don't care what busy club you're at. Not every court's gonna be packed. But our groups do like to play as groups. We rarely have anybody out there as a single court. So that's why you'll have these single courts open, because everybody wants to play within 2 or 3 groups of people. So at 11 o'clock, we would be able to do that more. Again, we'd have another block of 2, 3, 4 courts open, so it'd be helpful.
So Charlie, if I heard you correctly, you talked to the team captains. They were a majority vote in favor of moving to what, 12:30?
Yes,
Okay, so that's within our tennis community, is that correct?
yes, league's already been asked as well.
Okay, so what precludes us from adopting 12:30 as a league play for the men?
It's just up to the league. If
Well,
they
what
say
if-
no,
But
then
Charlie, what if we say,
What if we say
at our
yes?
club, you can't play a men's match before 12:30?
they'll say, have a nice day.
Yeah.
All 7 leagues will say the same thing to us?
Yep. They're pretty strict with that stuff. I think there is one club. Is there 1 or 2 clubs that are playing at 12:30? Del Webb and Payne Park. So there are 2 clubs that are playing at later time. And we play earlier. There's very few clubs that play earlier. Most of, again, it's court time. It's courts.
If there's
Number
2
courts.
clubs in this league that are already using 12:30 as the start time for
Yeah.
this men's league and freeing up 11 to become prime time,
Well, if they deny us, I would definitely use that. There'd be my argument.
then why don't we do it and see what happens?
We already asked. They
No,
have
I'm
not
saying, why
denied
don't
us. They have to vote on it.
Don't ask permission, ask forgiveness.
No, they just won't come. They just won't put us on the schedule.
Well, what
They-
about
they-
these other 2 clubs you just mentioned
Uh,
that do it?
They got permission. And then we still
Well,
might.
then how could they deny us?
A good question.
I think I see the 11 o'clock at prime time redesignation as a solver, if that's a word. A solution is a better choice. A solution to a couple issues here. Unless I'm looking at it incorrectly.
I see it the same way.
There,
And I say we do it.
and
Denise, your comment about there'll be more open courts, what's wrong with more open courts?
no, my comment about more open courts is if you don't allow lessons or ball machine in prime time, and what this is doing now, that as a member, you want a lesson, you now have to wait to the heat of the day, 12:30, to do that.
Oh, that's a different issue, yeah.
Yeah, that's number 3 here. The same with the ball machine. You're pushing those people out. You cannot have, well, we still have some ladies leagues that are at 11, right?
We have a system in place. 3 days out, you can book a court. I do not book ball machines or private
No,
lessons.
she's talking about, she asked a question about the ladies
So-
leagues that play in the morning, which I asked earlier.
Right.
There are ladies leagues that play
We
during
have
prime time?
to. We make exceptions for them. Just like the exception would be to play at 12:30 for these other 2 clubs. That's an exception to the Suncoast League's rules. But
Well, I don't know that has to be prime time has never been in the rule book what it is.
Well,
It's just
Well,
a
that's true.
guideline. And, we're willing to look at this as a guideline if everything flows into it. But if if we can get those the teams moved, to look into it as a guideline, making it a rule ends up being hard and fast. And especially if you do that, and then number 3 says, no ball machine, no lessons. They're gonna move to, they don't want singles in prime time. Now, all of these, which ends up being a decent group, no, but
but you have your 1, 2, 3 rule for prime time.
even if 11
So-
o'clock, I'm sorry.
Well, if you have a 1, 2, 3 rule, there will be days like this morning. Obviously, there was a court available at 9:30 for somebody to use the ball machine.
There very well could be more
Pardon me?
open earlier.
Pardon me?
There could be more courts open earlier in the morning as single courts. If you had 11 o'clock, more groups playing 11, less people in the morning.
Well-
Even if the prime time is 11 o'clock, I won't change the rule. Still 2 days out, I would book a private lesson.
I have no
One day for a ball
problem. That
machine.
sounds like a very good and fair rule.
We've had some discussions about singles. We haven't had an official rec committee discussion on it, a rec committee, or tennis committee, let's just go with that, about moving singles out of prime time as well, because we've had quite a growth of singles. But you can see my sheets here, how few lesson courts I'm taking now in prime time. You can
Right,
see
but
the
if
ball
11
machine isn't
becomes
taking much
prime time, some people social groups, whatever, will move into 11, which will probably open up other times on the 3, 2, 1 rule
Agreed.
for lessons or for ball machines.
There'll be another court or 2 open in single court, I'm sure.
So, what you're
Okay.
saying is, you're supporting, let's understand that 11 o'clock should be prime time.
Yes.
It would solve a lot of issues.
Well, we can call it prime time. I just don't want to be limited that I can't teach at 11 o'clock if I'm within my own rule, own guideline I'm using now.
Well, the same thing as that you have from now until 9:30, right?
Okay.
One of the things I just want to say, whatever these rules are that we decide, the other issue that needs to be understood is uniform enforcement of the rules. You know, if the rule is there, the thing that causes such controversy and fills up my inbox is violations of the rules that are clear and present violations that we see. Whether somebody is manipulating the list to say it's going to be a singles game, and then that one day before the other person drops out and it becomes the ball machine. That I probably have 15 emails about that kind of stuff.
I went on because I have this discretion and changed that rule. It's on I changed it completely. I went on, I changed the guideline, yeah, whatever you want to call it, not one of your rules, but one of the ones that I have. I changed it. I called the 4 or 5 people that were manipulating it and told them we have a new rule. The ball machine, if you delete your court that day, I'm not giving you the ball machine.
Okay.
So done.
And
that was one of those clear ones. Yes. I mean, you have other times where we have the names and the this and the that, and I keep hearing how I'm not following the day guest rule. I don't really want to go into this because we're about to change it anyway, but the day guest rule is not about tennis. We have tennis rules, not the day guest rule. I don't even think we need to discuss that anymore. We're going to be making a move, and we're in agreement with that anyway, that the guest fee should be year round. And we've been following it. We keep hearing that nobody took, but we show you guys point of sale systems, hundreds of dollars that we collect on those guest fees. Think about it this way. I just gave you information recently about how late clubs are open. You guys did get that, right? Yeah.
No.
They didn't get that.
How late?
That was the tennis committee.
How late in the day?
The late in the day. And and I can send that to you. We were clearly open more than almost every club in this county. So we're here a lot. Most clubs weren't even open on Saturday and Sunday, or they were open until 2. Plantation's open at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And this is not the professional staff. This is the staff. So we're here. I think we have a good system in place. It's not perfect. People try to manipulate them. Let's realize that people are trying to manipulate these rules.
I understand that.
We're not trying to let them. I have really no motive to not follow the rules or let guests play. I'm not getting anything off of that. All I'm getting is a headache by allowing these people to play.
Would it make any sense to free up an hour in the morning and start play at 7 o'clock? Or start ball machine at 7 o'clock?
Too early for us to get the courts prepped.
It is?
Unfortunately, yeah. It's just, especially in the wintertime when it's wet outside and cold, it just thought about it.
No, it wouldn't work 12 months out of the year, but it might.
We made a change a few years ago. We used to have an hour and a half for singles and 2 hours for doubles. We changed to 90 minutes. That's another one that was good. Went through a committee. We discussed it, and hopefully we can get back to doing that, having some discussions like that. Where we make these compromises.
Mr. Chairman, we are approximately 15 minutes away from the 3-hour mark of the meeting.
Right.
And this is pretty much the only item that has been covered outside of the district engineer staff report.
Right.
Denise, I wrote down that you had issues with item number 1, 2, 3, 4, and 9. I believe we've only covered item number 1, and some sort of discussion has gone into item number 3. Just as a reminder, Andy did mention that you could continue the public hearing if need be, meaning if you could continue this item, we don't have to adjourn, continue this item, but only this item for another scheduled date. We can also move all of the rest of the agenda items that you currently have to another meeting because none of them are urgent, in my opinion, with the exception of the LMP proposals, which those should be quick to approve because we have discussed them in the past.
Correct.
But we are going into the 3-hour mark.
Okay.
I need 2 minutes for the Tiki Hut.
Okay.
Okay. I would like to.
We can continue the discussion if you'd like and then table everything outside of what was mentioned, but.
Can
there's been quite a bit of discussion here. I want to go back to something I said earlier. I spoke when Alan was speaking. I mentioned it to you, mentioned it to Roger. What I would like to see is more time for us to go through this, but what I would prefer is that the tennis committee, Ernest, just hold on, the committee.
Racket Sports Committee.
Racket Sports Committee and
Thank
management.
you.
We've had a lot of discussion here. We've agreed on some things. We've gotten expanded definitions on other things. I would like to see this, I'm not kicking it down the road, but I would like to see the Racket Sports Committee with management take a look at this and see where there's room to agree. Because it seems that there is substantial room to agree now that we have discussed people's views. That's what I would like to see happen.
Well, if you choose to table the rest of the discussion pending that discussion or agreement between the two, we can continue this portion of the meeting to another date. We won't have to re-advertise it
No.
as long as we put it on the website.
Right.
So it would just be
But that's
our
just-
board discussion, not another open forum. We've done that, right?
If you're passing the resolution, you need to do the public hearing, and it should be.
Sorry.
If you're continuing it and not passing the resolution, you should do that within the confines of another public hearing, because you are asking them to bring back information for you, and so there may be additional comments on that information that they're bringing back, and you want, the whole point of having the public hearing is giving the public the opportunity to speak on
To speak on it.
Which
on what
we've
they're
done
voting.
ad nauseum today.
Right.
But
But then if you're gonna continue this, then yes, you need to give
Do it
them
again.
another opportunity
Okay.
to speak on.
My suggestion is just my suggestion. There are 4 other supervisors here.
I would support the chairman's suggestion
I agree.
because as he clearly stated, there seems to be some movement towards either compromise or agreements,
Okay.
and I think that needs to be worked out.
Okay.
And so I would support your position.
Oh, that's
Then I'll make-
acceptable.
Then
Uh,
I'll make that as a motion, that we stop discussion on this right now and that we send it back to management and the Racket Sports Committee for further consideration.
We need an amendment to that.
Well-
Yes, you have to, if you don't want to re-advertise it, you have to say the date, so when's your next meeting?
Next meeting is the 10th, I believe, right?
May 10th.
May
May
10th.
10th, so you're making a motion to continue to May 10th at 9:30 a.m. At the River Club, correct?
Correct.
And I
So
second
all
that
3
motion.
things, okay. For the record.
That was a
So,
second by Carl.
It's seconded. Any other discussion, supervisors?
Call the issue.
Let's call a vote.
All those in favor, please state aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries.
Now.
I want to thank
we
everybody
realize-
everybody that spoke on this issue
Yeah,
today.
thank you all.
It's eye-opening in a lot of ways. I still think that there's an opportunity to solve this.
Mr. Chairman,
Rich,
we
can I
have
ask the
a-
attorney question?
we have a meeting today
Yeah.
at 2:00.
Right.
Okay, so we would invite all concerned parties to the Racket Sports Advisory Committee at 2:00 today, if you would like to have any input in the discussion.
Okay,
Can I ask the attorney a question?
sure,
Procedurally,
sure.
we have other meetings, the racket committee has other meetings scheduled. And my feeling is that we do these negotiations and then we adjourn all of our meetings until the CDD makes a decision as to whether they're going to adopt the rules or not adopt the rules. Because I see no purpose in having further racket committee meetings until we get through these rules, because we have other rules. We've been working on these rules for a year. So I'd like to know, can we, on notice to Belinda, if we make a motion at our meeting today to adjourn all future meetings until these rules are decided, is that acceptable?
It sounded like there was a request that you continue this discussion with staff at your
Correct.
future
We
meetings.
will, once that discussion is concluded.
Oh, sure.
I don't see any purpose in having any further racket committee meeting myself. I don't know what the rest of the committee.
I don't think there's a mandate that you meet if that's what
Okay.
you're asking.
So we can adjourn the meetings if we want.
There
Yeah.
are
Thank
meetings.
But I want the understanding loud and clear that I want this issue back to the Racket Sports Committee and management with the intent that they will hammer out an agreement
And we'll vote on it.
that
on
will
the
come to
10th.
us and we'll vote on it
On May 10th.
May 10th.
on May 10th.
Think
That's,
from our sunshine law training,
Yeah, see, that's a problem.
committee chair could
Okay.
cancel a meeting.
I think it'll also be helpful supervisors if everybody reviews these recommended changes.
yes.
And if you have specific questions for staff regarding these actual changes, we can do what we've done in the past. You can send them to me. I will compile a list
Mhm.
and send them over for
And we'll get-
response.
Sure.
And whatever responses we receive, I will circulate to the board with the exception of the names of those persons that have asked a question.
Good idea.
This time, once the meeting is continued, you have all of your answers that you need before we start the meeting
Right.
again. There are a lot of questions from what I can tell, and there's a lot of confusion. So I think it would benefit this board to go through this list again. If you have specific questions regarding these rules that relate to staff, for example, with the one club that meets on the one particular day, those are the types of things that you should be asking. That way you have a better understanding what it is the committee's trying to accomplish, because there's a lot of confusion, and it would help the committee tremendously if you understood what their issues are with the specific rules.
Let's set a date for getting those questions to you. Friday?
As long as I have them before Friday, I can circulate them to staff. I
Okay.
will obviously copy the rec committee chair as well.
That's
so
this
that he's
Friday?
aware.
Friday's what, 29?
This Friday would be perfect.
Friday's 29? 30, Friday. It's going like that. Okay, so that's,
So realistically.
the onus is on us.
We only,
Can I just get
we
clarification?
have a meeting today.
Right.
Then our
We can do it
next
today.
meeting's the.
What I'm talking
is the
about,
10th.
Ernest, is just board questions.
Board
This.
questions.
Board
That's it.
questions, yes.
Well, okay,
Yeah, this is just
Yeah,
related
how
to
timely
board
they can
questions.
get them, okay.
Weren't you in agreement to number one when we took it to the
All right, let's move.
Okay, we're gonna move along.
Okay,
It's not that much
because
left.
one is open. But
Well,
you're
I
okay with
repeated, Kim, what was on the list of what she had issues with.
Okay.
So that's all I repeated. But she did say that, if there was a particular sentence in there for number one,
Right.
they would be fine with. But there was still a long list of items to cover that have not
Okay.
been covered as of yet, and we're coming across, we're 5 minutes to 3 hours on the topic.
Okay, so do you want to do the LMP proposal?
We can.
Real quick?
Okay, so just to restate for the record, we are continuing this meeting to May 10th at 9:30 a.m.
Right.
And this will be on the agenda.
Okay.
So we're not gonna go over rules and regs either,
No, God, no.
No, we're not.
and that'll be on the 10th? We're doing budgets on today.
Well, remember, we have a workshop on the 16th also,
Right.
so. Okay, so we're gonna move forward with the agenda for the meeting. Okay, the next item on the agenda is item number 4B, which is the consideration of the LMP proposals. These are behind tab number 3 for your consideration. I am just presenting these for approval by the board because we did have a discussion regarding these items and the board agreed to the recommendations that were made by John. The first one was for the removal of the falling oleanders on the south side of the parking lot here for the River Club.
Right.
That proposal totals to $1,518.
Right.
The second one was to remove the arbicola and the juniper in the River Club parking lot islands.
Mhm.
Installation of the Confederate jasmine in the 5 parking lot islands. The 3-gallon dwarf fire bush in the center medians between the cars. The next one is for the removal and installation of the 25-gallon Foxtail pump.
Where?
Yeah, where's that going to be?
This one.
It's right out by the tennis, right outside the pool.
Speak up, please.
Oh,
Right outside
okay,
the
okay,
pool
over
area.
here.
And then the last, I think.
The ones we already did?
No, there's a dead one.
There's a dead one over here. That's why I didn't know where it was, but that, okay.
This wasn't the newly planted one?
No.
No.
It's one that's been here for a while?
Okay.
Okay.
And the last one was for the replacement of the turf on the exit side of the Citadel Gates.
Which we've talked
So
about
all
before.
of these, we have discussed, I went through these with John in length, and I just need a motion by the board to approve the proposals presented by LMP as stated by the district manager for the record.
I'll make that,
Motion?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Any further discussion?
How do these totals fit in the 2020-2021 budget? I think they total about a little over $5,900.
I can give you a response to that, Carl, once we get the new financial statement, because what I would give you right now is based on February's numbers. So I prefer to give you something closer. So when I have the March numbers, which hopefully I'll have soon, I will respond to that.
Okay.
But I don't think on replacements, we're running very high. Our biggest cost right now is
Irrigation
Irrigation
repairs.
is
which
killing us.
I am going to discuss with the board because we have been having a lot of issues when it comes to the proposals and the formats of how LMP is presenting them.
Correct.
I'm receiving a PDF with 15 pages of proposals, some of which go back months for issues. It takes so much time for me to go through every single one with John. Some of them were never submitted to us because they weren't submitting them to us directly. I'm not sure who they were submitting them to, but I'm still getting proposals in large batches. We finalized another set last week based on John's review, and John was on site, and I did have him verify some of the other areas. But I will have a discussion with Rick about it. I've been meaning to talk to you about this issue, plus, the reporting issues as well. But the irrigation and the proposals as per, the field inspection report, they're not coming in as requested. And when they finally do come in, I receive a 15-page PDF, one proposal after the other. So I have to go through the field report to see exactly what was requested, when it was requested, and then review the quantities and the cost with John, which is very time consuming.
Right. Okay.
So I'll have a discussion with you about that, Rick.
Okay, I'll look forward to it.
Yeah.
And you'll give me an answer at the next meeting on where it fits in the,
I will, Carl.
okay, thank you.
Okay, so we have a motion. It's been seconded.
Any further discussion?
Call a vote.
All those in favor, please state aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? So moving forward, the next item I did have here was item number 4C, which was the review and acceptance of the revised Reserve and Finance Committee Advisory Charter. We were having issues with the format that was sent over to us.
Yeah.
We couldn't open the attachment. So Carrie contacted the chair because we need it resent to us in a readable format.
Right.
So I would suggest, this is not a major thing for the board to table this item until everyone has had the ability to review the
It's not. I'm just
chart.
looking to see if I have a copy of it. That was a problem. That was a problem in the way the minutes were sent as well as the way the charter was
Minor
sent.
change
Being
anyway,
able,
wasn't it?
it was a minor change and those changes were made. We took out the resident requirement within the Venetian, or being a homeowner. What it was replaced with must be a resident in here, which I don't think anybody will have an issue with. And the other thing that was called, there were a couple of things that call it, that was all done. So I don't know if you can do it on my say-so, or you want to approve it pending what I say is true. This way we could
You
approve it
can
now.
also do it pending legal review,
Okay, want to do it that way?
something like that.
So I'll make a motion that we accept the charter. Carl has seconded that. Any discussion? Call a vote?
All
Aye.
those in favor, please say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, Mr. Kleinbach, the discussion regarding the.
2 minutes, you said, right?
Our favorite topic. I'll get this done before these rules.
The hospital
So
be finished.
I have got
The
that.
hospital will be-
I just want to keep you informed of what's going on. As a result of our last board meeting, I did speak to our architect and our food service designer. I told both of them that we want to proceed with a tastefully reasonable, modest redesign, extending the tiki hut out the 18 feet with a gable type roof, and the equipment for the bar area. In addition, I asked him to include a better design for some shade out there, what he could come up with, and to look at the exterior lighting vis-a-vis the memo that you saw from Andy.
Right.
So that's the charge to them. We're trying to have Marissa, the food service consultant, come over yet this week to meet with us to firm up some of that.
Okay.
And we're gonna have Dave come to the Facility Advisory Committee via phone at our meeting the first Monday in May. So that's where we are.
Good. Okay.
So we're moving along. We're still intent on trying to.
The hospital will probably open first, though.
And also, I didn't get a chance to speak to Rick, but I did send Rick some information and asked him to, again, be involved with the coordination with Dave and anything else that we need to do.
Okay.
So that's where it is.
All right, thank you.
I have a question.
That was less than 2 minutes, by the way.
Okay, I saw. If you were standing looking at the tiki hut.
Yep.
All those plantings and.
On which side, Ernest?
Left side.
Yep, I'm with you.
Okay. They take up valuable space.
Yeah.
Why can't we remove that as well?
So I
For
think,
city.
let me tell you what I think is gonna happen, because I don't know for sure. The gable roof will come out, the 18 feet, it'll tie into the existing roof nicely. I think eventually there probably will be a recommendation maybe to flatten that area out and put some umbrella tables under that area.
Or sales.
Or sale,
Yeah.
or sale, but that'll play itself out as we move along here.
Okay, good.
What I'm anxious for is to get something in front of you that you can see how this thing is developing. Please, let's discount what the price tag is, because we don't know. And you know, we keep throwing, we had somebody speak today about throwing out a figure. That was not an accurate figure. I don't know what the price tag is, and until we're down the line, we won't know. So that's where we are.
Okay.
Thanks, Steve.
Good. And I've asked, you know, I'm trying to keep this on the agenda every meeting, so I keep updating you, so there's no surprises.
Okay.
So thank you.
Steve, do you think you'll have an answer, a little more formed answer by May 10th?
No. I think what'll happen is, we're hoping to get Marissa out here this week. She already has all the equipment. I spoke to both of them shortly after our last meeting to get going. I expressed some urgency with it. I think it's gonna take a little time to flush it out. I would be more comfortable saying our first week in June, our first meeting in June, we ought to have some better answers.
Okay.
I do want the facilities committee to have an opportunity to speak with Dave on that first Monday to kind of get them involved in what's going on. They know, but we'll have a good conversation on that Monday.
Okay.
Denise, that's where we are?
Okay.
I move we adjourn.
So moving forward, supervisors, we're almost there. The next item on the agenda is item number 5A, which is the consideration of the operations and maintenance expenditures for the month of March 2021. These are behind tab number 4 for your review. If there are no questions regarding the O&M, we could looking for a
Just-
motion to approve.
Just
I have a
real
question.
quick, the mailbox welding, it was always 75, it's gone up to 100, I guess, but do we ever get reimbursed? These two were both on Valenza Loop, looked like they were next door neighbors, and do we ever get reimbursed on that?
If we identify who hit them, yes.
Yes, if somebody tells us who it was, or they fess up, and then we do, but
Okay.
most 90% of the, 99% of the time, I have no idea.
No, I didn't see anything.
And so, but yeah, we've been reimbursed on some,
Okay.
like the one that was $1,300, they wrote us a check and
Okay.
took care of it.
I would
This-
back that up because mine was knocked over by my landscape vendor a couple of years ago, and they fessed up right away. So that's part of the process.
The sandblasting and painting of the mailboxes, those are the ones that were forgotten?
Yes.
The one set, yeah.
The ones-
over
one
here
over
Bella
at the condos,
Vista,
okay.
There's 4 of them.
Okay. And
And the
the,
price has gone up for the welding.
okay, $25.
Yeah.
We're keeping inventory on RFID and the credit card things, so that We spent $3,000 on keeping them. We using that many of them?
We go through a lot of them, and it was at the recommendation of the vendor that those come from China. And so we ordered extras way back when the COVID thing hit, everything was closed down. And he said, these come from China, so my recommendation is that you order some.
Stockpile them
here,
just in case. Okay.
Stockpile a little bit, because if you don't, you'll run out and you won't. So we went over a little bit on those, but the things are slowing down on the RFID, especially this time of year.
Do we have a system that will audit, your shrinking inventory? So, my concern on any item like this is always shrinkage. So I guess
Gotta
that's.
get down to 100, and we.
Sounds like
we
George
reward them.
Costanza.
Okay.
I know that Belinda's already mentioned the sprinkler repairs, quite a few on here. And I know that that's an issue between you and LNP,
Yes.
but you're staying on top of that.
Yeah, in fact, the pounding was my new map that's just going up, Waller, so that we can know exactly where, and I'll have tags and all that on that, where they're gonna be, those.
I thought that noise was Ernest banging his head on the table for
Well, it was.
the racket sports.
What time is it?
On the irrigation side, though, we are making changes going forward for repairs needed.
Okay.
So they'll have to fill out the service repair order,
Right.
present it to Keith. If it's something that we need to do right away, he'll submit it to me for approval.
Right.
But given all of the issues that we've been having with all of their irrigation proposals, one of the questions I did have for John was, should these items not have been corrected when they did the initial review?
The initial 30-day
Where
review.
the district paid a huge sum of money for all of the deficiencies to be corrected. According to John, some of these issues are inevitable because of some of the older controllers.
Mhm.
And he does believe that some of these, probably could not have been avoided when the initial review was done.
Okay.
I have a question, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
And this is just general for the operations and maintenance expenditures. And I think it flows into budget and budget planning. Do we get annual bids or every 2 or 3 year bids on recurring service providers for budget preparation purposes? Verizon, engineering services, et cetera, that we see consistently on the monthly reports.
I think I lost you. Other that you mean using other than Verizon, for example?
Well,
or-
no, Verizon's one of them, but I mean, we have engineering services, we have legal services. Do we get annual or is there a time period every 2 years for bidding outside, competitive bids for those services?
Okay.
For bidding your professional services, I can answer that unless, Curtis, you want to say?
Oh, no, I was gonna say, he's describing the procurement policy that we have. Okay, I know from governmental entities, we go out every year for professional services except electronic or other similar situations. But I don't know what it is here in Florida. I would think over a certain threshold. It was Jersey, it was 20,000. Above that, or 4 years, you need to go out.
We don't have those types of hard and fast rules unless they're capital improvement projects, and the thresholds are much, much higher, like the $250,000 range, when you're talking about actual buildings or things like that, capital improvements. And a lot of that actually will go contract by contract. So some contracts will have written in there, just for 2 years, or the option either to renew the contract or then to go out for bid to get other offers or quotes for that. There is no requirement, like you said, every 4 years or every year annually to review that. That is just part of your budget process. So if you see numbers in your budget where you think it would be beneficial to go out to bid, you do have that option and that discretion as a governing body. but
Okay,
that's part of your budget process.
all right, well, I know some entities have a procurer on board, certified contract procurer on board. Do we qualify? Yeah, okay, so our district,
Your
okay, she
district
swallowed.
manager is
our
in charge of
district
that,
manager,
and-
that was
and
my
also,
bad.
yeah, your club manager.
So-
Whoever reviews your contracts for you to put your budget together, would probably be able to answer that.
But typically, to answer his question regarding professional services, we don't typically go out for bid on your professional services unless directed to do so by the board, which in that case, we would put it out for RFQ, not an RFP.
Yeah.
I would assume then that, and not to pick on you personally, Belinda, but if
No, of course
Rosetta
not.
came to us at budget time and said, we've gone up 10% in our ability to perform this function, that we would have a discussion, at least within the budget planning, of whether we needed to have a competitive bid to that or not.
Which has always happened.
Okay.
In the past, regardless of whether the increase was 3%, 4%, we've always brought the increase forward within the proposed budget, and we've had discussions about it.
Right.
Some of the
Okay.
board members would express whether or not, they're happy with the increase, whether they're not, and then we would discuss it, and obviously it would be included if approved by the board. If not, then obviously it would be taken back to, our higher ups so that they could discuss the increase. It would be the same with district council. Andy
Right.
always presents his
Always
increase
does.
letter to the board,
Okay,
and you have the right as a board to discuss with your professional as to whether or not you're in agreement with the increase or not.
I'm just getting up to speed, thank you.
Florida is Florida. That's all I'll say. I mean,
Go ahead.
all
Go.
professional.
I gotta go. I'm sorry.
Acceptable?
Yeah.
Okay, so, any other questions regarding
Keith,
the O&M?
thank you.
If not, we've been looking for a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion to approve it.
Second,
Rich, second by Carl. Any further discussion? All those in favor, state aye.
Aye.
aye,
Any opposed? The record shall indicate the supervisor McCafferty left the meeting at 12:44 p.m. Okay. The next item on the agenda, the consent items. We do have a few for you. These are just being presented for your acceptance. We have the Facilities Advisory Committee meeting minutes of March 1st and March 17th. Racket Sports Advisory Committee meeting minutes of March 8th. Social and Dining Advisory Committee meeting minutes of March 10th.
I'll make a motion that we accept them.
accept them in entirety, correct?
Yes.
I second.
Second by Carl. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
All right.
Any opposed?
Can I ask a quick question before we go on to the next item?
Sure.
Rich, I need the dates that you're currently set up, so I can put it in the newsletter for any of your reserve finance.
I thought I sent that to you. Oh, it's the second, I'm sorry, it's the third Monday of every month at 2 o'clock at the River Club.
And is that through
Through,
August?
it's, those were through October, I think, or September,
Okay,
within this fiscal year.
thank you.
But it's always going to be, unless something changes, the third Monday of every month at 2 o'clock.
Okay. Got it. Thank you.
Thank you.
And everybody did get your POA responsibilities. That was asked last week. I sent that email, resent that email to everybody. I have a copy of it if anybody needs it.
Okay, we're gonna move on to staff reports. Regina, I'm not sure if Andy left you anything. I know he intended to provide a report before he left, but
He did, he gave a little brief update. I don't have anything else, but thank you very much for letting me sit in for Andy today.
Thank you for coming. Very nice meeting you.
I have a quick question that you probably have to relay back to Andy. At our last board meeting, it was indicated, Andy had indicated that the lights over the pool were okay. They were supposed to meet certain wattage.
They're not.
Low wattage or
They're not.
whatever. And
They're not okay.
subsequent follow-up indicated that the light manufacturer did not meet the standard, correct?
Correct.
So the light's been removed.
I think the lights have been removed, correct, Keith?
No.
What was said was that the lights, they had to be removed unless you could raise them to a
Yes,
certain height.
Right.
Or away from the pool at a certain distance.
Right.
So the lights were raised to above the recommended or the the
Required.
height that they're supposed to be at.
Mhm.
All right, so we're in compliance with the code. Joe did raise
Oh, okay.
points that are out there, so we're good.
And I've asked our architect to look at that in the design that he's doing for the tiki hut.
Yeah, because we have hurricane season coming up and, just the question is, if it does come down.
And when I'm not gonna speak for Denise, but I'm pretty sure that when we do have a hurricane heading our way, those are type of things that will.
They did come down and
They'll-
do it, right?
Denise, do you have anything to report?
I do have a few things here. First of all, I have a question. I don't know if anybody knows it, or if you might have you or Andy research it. We are getting several lease renters coming in, and we get the information from the POA that there's somebody who is renting. And then they come in and transfer the membership to the River Club. All of a sudden, everybody is saying, oh, I'm not gonna use the River Club. And I don't know if their owners are saying, here's my key, just use this, because a lot of the owners don't wanna pay the $175 transfer fee. They've been fighting it. And my question is it required for people who lease to get the membership transferred? It's only happened once a year, and all of a sudden, it's just all the time. And that seems a little weird that these people are not coming to swim, play tennis, dine, anything.
Can you deactivate the homeowner's card?
That's what I was thinking, is do a deactivation.
Sure.
It's still easy enough to stand by the fence and somebody opens it and you walk through.
Of course, there's always ways, as you were saying before, to manipulate something.
Yeah, and
Do you not allow residents access, even if they're homeowners?
if they are homeowners and they lease their home, they must transfer their membership. They
So it's a
cannot,
required transfer?
yes, if they use the River Club, but now they're saying, oh, we're not gonna use it. And that's hard to believe you would come into a community. And I can understand if it was a golfer, because they have dining over there and golf. I could understand
Right.
that. But these are people who are coming here to rent. Why would you rent in this community if you're not gonna use the amenities?
I'd say deactivate the card.
Deactivate the card, and if for some
And I
reason,
already talked to Mary Ann about
and
that.
for some reason they walked into the club to sit and dine, and
Yeah,
you
the
don't
hard part
recognize
is
it.
we don't know them, and at dinner, people are like, oh, use my credit card, so we're not even able to put their name in to see they're not in this system. And I was thinking of talking to Chris about anybody that uses a credit card, take that credit card, type it into the system. If it's not in there, this person is, an interloper, so to speak.
Mhm.
So, all right, I just didn't know if we knew if it was mandatory to do that, to become a River Club member. I don't know.
I don't have an answer to that. I don't know.
We made a note, we'll ask her.
We're gonna, okay.
Yeah. The last board meeting, we talked about raising the numbers percentage in the dining room. We did not talk about the showers. What does the board feel about opening the showers at this time? Didn't have a lot of people asking me, but in the last month, 2 or 3 people, when are you gonna open the showers? And I said I would bring it to the board.
I think it's time.
And
I think it's time to open.
yeah, and I think we had already talked about protocol for that we would have sanitation bottles that would sanitize like they do the gym equipment before and after their shower, because there's no way I could have somebody in there every hour on that, doing that.
My opinion is that it's time to open.
in opening it up, and I'm agreeing with you, Mr. Chairman, do we need to maybe post signs in the locker rooms that?
An appropriate sign.
Use of the shower, is at your risk or whatever during this time? Or
Oh,
do we feel that's even necessary?
I think there should be some notification about using the sanitizer, yeah.
Mhm.
But my opinion is that we should, we have the locker room open. Let's go.
Yes.
But
Let's go.
I want to interject. We have to make sure that we're following CDC guidelines when
Yes.
it comes to cleaning. because this will adversely affect us insurance-wise. Your current provider has made it a point to remind us constantly about when facilities are open, you have to make sure that you do have the staff available to conduct a proper cleaning. So I'll make a note of that, so maybe Andy can look into that as well, and I will check with Aegis. But if you're gonna open the facility, you need to have the staff available to be able to clean it.
Yeah, we were thinking probably be able to clean it totally twice a day, 3 times max. And is that going to meet the guidelines, or having the sanitation bottle where they clean before and after, is that going to work?
You probably have to do both. I'm gonna guess that you have to have the bottles available if you're not
Right.
going in there and cleaning after every guest.
Yeah, because cleaning after every guest is almost an impossibility. We could clean, walk out for 2 minutes and somebody else comes in. So would it be ample to do it twice a day, 3
All
times?
right, so you'll ask that question.
I think
Yeah.
that's what we have to research.
But,
Okay.
regarding in that same vein there, towels, we had discontinued. Do we feel, because that's really a sanitation thing, your wet towels, here, should we just say, bring your own towels at this point?
Bring your own.
Yeah.
Would be my opinion.
That's what we felt, because of, that's, where I think the unsanitation
Right.
would be. Fitness classes. My recommendation, keep them at 50% on the inside, because it is closed and people are breathing heavier. Outside, as long as there's social distancing, however many they can fit.
I think that should be your call.
Okay. Same with the gym, we're gonna hold it 50% again because of heavy breathing.
Based
We're gonna
on
do that.
staff availability, space-wise, that should be your call.
Okay. We're also talking about bringing back tablecloths, if that's okay with the board for that.
Sure.
And then as far as the whole COVID thing, that's the only thing there. We already talked about the lights at the pool, we're done. We have one more thing. Bruce Furman is the general manager of Venice Yacht Club. And Mr. Kleinglass and I have gone there. Judge Booker has gone there on another occasion. And Mr. Furman asked if we would be willing to do reciprocity in the summer with the yacht club. Our members could dine at the yacht club and their members could come here to the river club. What are your thoughts on doing that?
For dining facilities.
For dining
For
only?
dining.
Yeah.
Dining only.
I'm all in.
Yeah, we had a good conversation when we went over, and I think it would be a terrific advantage to our members here. It would give their members a chance to come over here. I think this is a win-win
Oh,
and a nice thing to offer up, so.
I
This
think,
is the Venice Yacht Club.
Venice
Yeah.
Yacht Club.
Yeah, I think that's a good,
Denise, would it be all the time or selected times, or was that discussed yet? In terms of, would they let us come anytime and we'd let them come
Like for
anytime?
their events and stuff?
Yeah.
I think what we would do is probably just find their regular dining hours and then, say something like call for a reservation. So if they
Okay.
call and say, oh, sorry, we're closed, we've got a wedding, they would know and not show up. The same here,
Yeah,
we would let them come to dinner, but I don't know that if we had a, member event,
Right.
4th of July barbecue, I think it would be
You
just
can-
lunch and dinner.
but you're sensitive to all of that.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I think this is a great opportunity.
so the reciprocity would be during the summer months, or would it be,
It would
what
be.
time frame are you talking about?
Usually it's May 1 to, some of them do October 31, but I think October 1 is when our thing starts, so it'd be September
think that-
30th.
yeah.
May 1 through September 30, 31, whatever.
Vesta was in favor of it.
Yeah.
I saw the note from Vesta, they were in favor of it, so.
And this would be a good trial to see if we could do it with other entities around town, maybe down the road.
Well, I know when I was a member at Mission Valley, we had a relationship with them.
Yeah.
With
And
Venice
it was
Yacht.
great. You
We
could
did
go
that-
there,
we
and
did
they
that one
showed
time
us-
here.
New people.
Yeah.
Yeah,
At one time, we
Good thing.
did that.
and it's a good thing.
And would the
Matter of
board
fact.
want me to, if other clubs ask,
Well,
Present it to us.
taking
Yeah,
that
just
a
present it to
step
us on a
further,
case by case basis.
like my club in New Jersey, Country Club in Jersey, we would have relationships, reciprocity with other country clubs at Baltusrol, Essex Fells and things for dinner and during season. And it people like to eat around, and I mean, there's a number of people outside these gates would like to dine
Yeah.
with Chef Tim's on his. They've heard about it, and it's another source of revenue. But we should do it. We should explore it.
All right, we'll call in. That's all that I have.
That's a great job.
I have some quick questions if no one else does.
I have one, but
Oh, go ahead.
It was a late arriving email this morning from a resident, last night actually at 10:30. I saw it this morning at 8:30, regarding, I don't want to use the resident's name, but did you get an email this morning? About the pool monitor leaving the job and walking somebody's dog, or?
Okay, what that is, our pool monitor comes early, and there's a resident who is unable to walk her dog and offered if during her lunch, she would come and help her for 30 minutes.
So she's doing it during lunchtime,
She's doing
off
it
time, or
during
something
lunch.
like
She
that?
clocks out, and I monitor it every week to make sure that
Okay.
that's out.
Okay.
She missed one time, we put it in.
Okay.
And so it is during her lunchtime or private time that she's helping out residents.
All right, would you be
That's
sure
part
to
of your general rules that I think you even have that in your general rules, we need to firm up at the next meeting. Well,
Oh, yeah, it was about,
somewhere in there.
yeah, there's
Yeah.
something about, personal services.
Right.
But I think that means if I'm a beautician, I can't come in here and start doing people's hair.
I would
So
just,
we'll clarify
I would
that.
just ask that you be sure to reach out to the resident when you get an opportunity to
Okay,
answer the
hopefully I
questions,
got a copy of
the
that.
questions
Thank
that were raised. If you don't have a copy of it, just call me and I'll send it to you.
All right.
Okay,
All right,
thank you.
Thank you.
So, a couple quick questions.
Of course.
We approved up to 75% capacity. How's that going?
It's going well. It's going well.
Any other issues with Mass and the River Club and enforcement?
No, we still have those who come in and just, oh, I forgot, and we chase them down and give them one of ours. We still have those who will not enter this building until the no mask rule is here, so we won't be seeing them for quite some time. But most people are trying to be.
Okay. And this goes back several meetings. Where are we on Richmond and the written wording on the tennis light pole?
Those should be scheduled soon now that the season is not quite, people are still hanging on. And we were trying to wait till tennis dies down a little bit. That hasn't happened. There are people who are just not wanting to go up north quite yet. So
Well,
we're hoping to do it in a month or so when the numbers.
that I understand, but I guess the question is, has Richmond met the terms of the contract?
I think we got the contracts they're doing the courts and the fence, and Andy had done a contract and was sent over.
Okay.
Yeah, and they've got insurance, of course.
So during the off season.
That's it.
Any other questions for Denise?
I do. For Denise and Charlie, did you see there was another message from a resident that was quite upset about spraying?
Roundup.
Yeah,
Roundup,
so
I got
just a couple of issues, and I don't know, this is probably a longer discussion than is necessary. This happened on a Tuesday. She reported this on Saturday.
Correct.
So it seems to me she should have immediately gone into the clubhouse here and said, somebody is doing something outside that we're uncomfortable with, could you all address it? Well, it doesn't do anybody any good when they wait 4 days to bring up an issue. And that's one part of it. The second part of it is, has anybody gotten back to her?
Oh, I haven't got back to it, no.
Because it's
I talked with a landscaper this morning.
Yeah.
I got that email, I think it was Saturday. I talked with them that, when
Is
we
it
are
true?
spraying for weeds,
Is it true?
yes.
They did that, okay.
But
And
standing
what's
there for a
Roundup?
half hour, the email said that the lady was there for a half hour.
Right.
At that one spot, you know, they blow and go pretty quick.
Right.
So But, that maybe the next time we're gonna do that, that we wait till the courts are at least empty, empty-ish,
Right.
so that we can, they can spray without.
Now, she also, was also mentioned in that email that this was the second, and I responded to the homeowner saying, I never got a first one.
Nor did I.
No,
So please send me the first one, because I never got it.
Yeah.
But it is a point that needs to be addressed, and I'm glad you did, so that in the future, they'll be spraying at times when the courts are not heavily used. Okay. I guess that's about all we can do, right? Because we have to use the product, we have to, okay. All right, thank you.
She says second email about a year and a half, maybe 2 years, it was before COVID. I had received an email about, on the pavers, we were using Roundup. And I immediately discontinued it and went to a more organic type stuff, and doesn't really work, but you know, if that's the hard thing, right? It's the one that worked. I also did a research, was trying to look through it, and you know, because people, they're being sued. The lawsuits are for commercial. People use it every day of their life. Lawn, landscape people, they're the ones. And also, a lot of the cancers are coming from the farmers, and it's more dangerous, the food where it's on, because it doesn't wash off.
I understand that, but
So
I think,
just doing it once, but we did change, again, appearances and just making it
right,
feel safe.
I think we all recognize that the homeowner has a legitimate point there. And as long as we've addressed it, that's good.
I've addressed it with the landscaper, and
Right.
I will, take care of her emails.
Okay,
In an
Thank you.
appropriate way,
Right.
she should have immediately said something so that these people had a chance to get out there.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your input to be quicker.
Well,
Yeah.
I've got about 20 things.
oh, right.
No, I'm good.
Tennis? Oh, no.
Any questions for Steve? Okay. On my end, just as a reminder, our next meeting will be held on Monday, May 10th, 2021 at 9:30 a.m.
I believe we're gonna have a presentation, the finance committee is gonna be at that meeting.
They want to participate in this meeting to have a discussion regarding the bonds.
The bonds,
So we'll
exactly.
be inviting MBS, but we'll have to advertise, and what Andy and I spoke was pretty much what we've done in the past, where we've advertised the meeting as a kind of a joint workshop with the board.
Right.
Where they will be present at the meeting.
Right.
Committee's
What's the
present.
date?
But it won't be a
May
separate,
10th.
it'll be at the same time, concurrently with our 9:30 meeting. That's
Yes.
what I had
Yeah.
clarified with you.
I'm definitely not gonna have a packed agenda for this meeting, because you also have to continue the discussion regarding,
Thank you.
the rules.
Okay.
So we'll try to keep it to maybe 3 or 4 items
Okay.
after.
Sounds good.
so May 10th and May 19th are our next two meetings.
Yes, May 19th is the workshop.
Right,
So,
right,
that's
okay.
when we'll have our workshop.
When will that notice for the May 19th go out?
What was that, I'm sorry, Carl?
When will the notice
will
go out?
the notice for the May 19th budget workshop?
It's a workshop, so we're gonna advertise it in the paper, and it'll also be on our webpage. But I'm not gonna we don't issue an entire agenda packet for
Okay,
a workshop.
okay.
Can I participate by Zoom?
You can,
Okay, good, because I have a conflict.
yes.
Uh,
Just, send me an email so that I don't forget, and I can,
Well, then at 9:30 on the 19th also.
9:30.
Gotcha.
Well, no, I
No,
can
10
have it
o'clock.
later. I think
So-
we said 10
We said 10 o'clock.
Okay, that's fine.
Let me just double check.
Okay.
That would give you time to get your tennis court.
It is 10 a.m.
They said it's 7. I just wanna verify.
Okay, we're good. Thank you. You know, while you're verifying that, although it was arduous this morning, I really appreciated all the comments that
Without a
took place
doubt.
this morning.
A lot of work was done.
Yeah, I thought this was a good dialogue.
Okay.
It is 10 a.m.
Thank you.
So, just as a reminder, please submit your questions, based on these rules, if you have questions for staff,
By Friday.
so that we can circulate them and you can have a little bit more clarity on some of the issues, so that you can make a uniform decision at the next meeting. Any questions for me?
Belinda, I have one. Have you heard anything yet about the financials?
No, and I had a discussion with Rich about this. In communications, we haven't received, the actual worksheets from Vesta yet.
Right.
So on our end, our statements are completed with all of Rosetta's information, but we have not received the required worksheets from Vesta for the March statements. There are also some questions that were received from the auditor that Vesta does need to respond to as well.
And when I spoke to the accountant, it pretty much he didn't really have time for that. They got the checks out Friday. So now he's working on our financials. So auditors, he's putting behind that, and I don't know if it's more important.
They're both important.
Yeah.
We definitely don't want a late audit, and we don't want a late submittal. So, I don't work for Vesta, I work for the board. It's my job to tell the board, and as I've said, we have not received the documents. Before Vesta started, we were part of that conference call where we spoke in detail with the entire accounting department, and we went over the processes to our financial statements and what was needed. There have been issues from the beginning, from startup. The board is aware of what those issues are. Rich, you've been kept into communication
Yes,
about
I'm
what
aware
those
of all
issues
of
have been. I'm hoping that we receive those worksheets this week because I cannot present a budget draft, or Denise can't, with numbers going back to February when we're already, going into May.
I'm well aware of it.
I can present the numbers for the general fund and the general fund reserve and the River Club reserve, which is what we control, but I cannot present River Club numbers if I don't have the appropriate numbers.
Right. The responsibility is on Vesta to,
Yes, and
get
the
this.
worksheet that I gave Denise was with February numbers.
Yeah, and I've got the worksheet, 95% done, but that is with February, and there are a few things that we're trying to
So
calculate.
I was going to suggest, Rich, you are the liaison, maybe we can call a meeting and have, myself, Denise, yourself, and Andy on the phone so that we can have a discussion about some of these issues that we're having.
okay, we can do that. I'll speak with you separately about that.
Okay, so we'll schedule something to have a conversation. We were very direct before Vesta took over on what the processes were, what we needed, especially because of budget season, and we're coming down to the wire here. And we definitely don't want to have issues because our proposed budget has to be approved by June 15th.
Right.
Yep.
Any other questions for me? Supervisor request or comments? Any supervisor request or comments?
Just quick from me, I handed out you had asked about the Fidelity account, so
Right,
you have the update on that. Also, Steve Kleinglass has volunteered to attend the social committee meeting on May 12th. And I spoke with Carl earlier. We all know the situation, and on those, because your treatments tend to conflict with the social committee, I think he's going to need some help, and I'm going to ask the other supervisors, as Steve has already done,
No
to
problem.
step up when they can to help out Carl. I will certainly do it. Steve's going to do the next one. Thank you very
I look forward
much.
to helping.
Thank you very much for doing that. And that's it.
Okay. I have a few. First of all, I noticed somewhat of a problem, and it's piggybacking what Denise just talked about earlier, rentals. Okay, we had some issues at the pool when I was there one day from 1 week rentals, okay, secured through Airbnb. Okay, this is going on throughout our community. And they come to the pool, and that particular day, they brought their own liquor and everything else, as well as smoking other, whatever it was, caused quite a ruckus over there. We have to get control of this. These people are, but there are 9 people in a 2-bedroom house, they were describing. and they came to party. And they had
That's
they
a
had the
POA
key.
thing, you know that, right?
Yeah, well,
The POA should be controlling.
yeah, well, POA, we need to get on them, but because it's affecting our property, specifically our pool. Okay, so they need to get control of this, and it causes Denise problems as well. Her staff, they were not listening to her staff or anything else. So we have to somehow address this issue with the POA.
Well, ultimately, it's the homeowner that is responsible. And this is a thing that's come up at the POA at various times. You know, they were monitoring some of the realty websites. They were monitoring VRBO and other such rental websites.
Yeah.
In order to track down those homeowners who are advertising 1 week rentals or that sort of thing. We have rules about 2 months at a minimum. And you're right, it does get violated.
Yeah. So I don't know how we address it, but
would-
again, it filters over to our property and affects Denise, this
One
staff.
of the things we can do is when we do have issues, and a lot of times they'll say, oh, it's my family's home. So that's, and there may not be truth in that, but for us to maybe when we have that issue, research it a little bit,
Mhm.
find out, let's find out who it is, and
Well, just put it
homeowner
in,
will say the same thing, it's my niece, it's my nephew, it's my grandson.
feel free to call Melissa and say, Melissa, because this is a POA issue, and the POA should be, they're the rule enforcers here, and have it checked out.
I've called her several times, and Tom Jones a couple of times with this. So hopefully we can get a handle on it, but it
Okay.
is, that checking the internet
Yeah.
is the way to go, really.
So, all we could do probably is block their access to the pool, and they'll climb over these type of people.
Yeah. But again, if they haven't signed a rental lease, I don't know who the owner is to block their card, because that's what they're doing, they're using the owner's card. And that is a master declaration violation that is under the suspension rules, that they can be suspended if they do something like that. And I don't know if we send out another email saying, no Airbnb, you'll be suspended if they're caught using your card.
It should come from the POA, not from
Yeah,
you.
true.
It's within their purview,
Yeah.
not ours. I mean, it's all of our issue because we live here and because it's happening, but it's the POA that should be dealing with this.
Well, Chairman, I would say that this body passed a resolution expressing our concerns and notified the POA of this, and that they take corrective measures immediately. So we go on record because, again, it's destroying our property.
Okay.
Okay, and it's affecting, they were getting a fight with Chris or Paul, they wouldn't listen. Okay?
I can contact Tom Jones and explain very quickly what's happened here and have him get in touch with Denise to get some more information and again, deal with the homeowner. Because that's not ours. I believe that's the best out, because if there's damage done or whatever, ultimately it's the homeowner that's responsible. So I will do that.
Thanks. Then my final, it concerns our new management company. Okay. I was on the other side of the vote, but once they got in, they're in. But to me, if I started the new job, and I remember when I started the new job, I was there bright and early the day it took place. I expected to see them March 1st in here with staff as well as their consultants or whomever in support of Denise and our management here, our local management. I know I hear rumors about issues of things not being taken care of. Did you have to use your credit cards or something? Regards, I mean, they accepted this. They should rise to the occasion. This is the concern I had when I did my research, and hopefully they wish they should pay attention, if you
Well, then
would.
why don't we
and
have-
Stop being in action. Only should.
Why don't we have them come to a meeting?
Yeah, I want to see them. I mean, that would be nice.
Is there any requirement that they be at our CDD meetings in our contract with them?
No, I would just think they would because.
No, but I'm asking though. I follow what you're saying, but
But-
did we stipulate that? Or should we have?
Well, their presence is here through Denise. But she needs, well, she's their employee
I understand.
and our treasurer, our most treasured associate from them.
Well, I think we can have them come to a meeting and address these issues with them. You know, Roy is here from time to time, but I think he's readily available. Kyle, I can't think of Kyle's last name.
Yeah, Kyle Winslow, Nelson.
He's the-
VP that works over us now.
So, and he's fairly local. So,
Bradenton, I think.
No, actually, he's on the other side.
is he?
too.
Okay,
Yeah.
but anyway, he's our immediate
Confusing.
person, and I don't know, May 10th might be a little bit jammed up, so I don't know if we could.
They get paid.
There's some issues
Come
in
on.
between that we do need to talk about. Rich.
Okay, so how about if we
So, you
have,
know, you as the liaison, I suggest that the immediate issues, we do have a discussion on, we can invite them to the main meeting.
Mhm.
But I think we do have to have a conference call about the issues that we're having with the statements and
Financials.
all of the other concerns that have come up.
Okay.
They can come to the meeting for sure in May, we can invite them,
yes,
but I wouldn't hold off on having this discussion because.
Oh, no,
you know,
no.
It's crunch
It's
time right
things-
now for us.
okay. So let's invite them to the May 10th meeting, but in the meantime, there will be a conference call with myself, Belinda. Should we involve Andy with that?
Yes.
Andy?
Chris Timmerman? Is there,
He's their financial guy.
yeah, and
Timmerman.
the CFO, Dan Armstrong, would probably want to be in on it.
Yeah, he's the boss.
Yeah, and Tim Royer is our accountant. I'm not sure, you know.
Okay, so-
Let me ask you, are we to the point where they should be an agenda item at least at one of our monthly meetings every month? I'm asking, I'm not suggesting, I'm asking.
Not every startup is easy, I'm gonna be honest.
Yeah.
Steve, I just think that, was the ball dropped in certain areas? Yes, it was, and it's no secret. Were
Right,
there
yeah,
several
right.
things that should have been addressed in advance of the takeover? Yes. Do you wanna give them the benefit of the doubt on some things? Yes. But do we have the potential for improvement? I do believe that there is.
Sure.
But I think on our end, we have to be very set and firm on what these expectations
Yeah.
are.
I hear you. I'm simply asking, would it be in our best interest that at one of our monthly meetings, they be a standing agenda item? And I don't know the answer
What I
to that.
understood based on our conversations when we talked about the support for Denise is that they would have a representative attend the meetings with her. We talked about support for her during committee meetings. I don't know if that's happening because I'm not part of the
Sure.
committee meetings or not. We talked overall about the initial support that she would need, especially when it came to budget time. I don't know if she's receiving that support or not. That's a conversation she needs to have with Rich so that he's aware of these issues when we have our discussions.
Okay. But my worry is like, she's their employee, okay? It should come from Rich only.
She is
And-
their employee, but she
and-
has been very upfront and honest about the deficiencies.
They need, well, again, if I started the new job, I would be there bright and early on the first day of work, and you would see me every day for the next, at least the first 30 days in transition.
I hear you.
And, you know, they got the account, okay,
Well,
and let's move on. Just treat us like we're special.
I think we have a process, and I'd like to move on because
We don't have to go.
If I could just say, in their defense, they have been here, the HR person has been here 5, 6 times. Roy has been here several times. Kyle, I just met him, we was at a meeting, but then he came into my office for budgets and we spent 5 hours at least going over budgets detailed after, I did the budget and line by line reviewed it. The other VP, J. King, has been here, so they are coming. They're trying to be very supportive. It's just there've been some severe glitches, unfortunately, that, need to be addressed, but they're trying to be very supportive, of the staff, and they've been here quite a bit.
Going back to that, those are conversations that Rich has to have with her as the liaison,
Okay.
so that, those discussions can be held with Vesta if there are concerns.
Well,
He stepped out,
Move we adjourn.
Oh, wait a
well,
minute.
he's gone, so let's give him a minute, since technically he hasn't really
Okay.
left yet, and we need him. Okay, so there, you can make the motion, we can have a second, and then when he gets back, we can call the vote. Is there a second to adjourn?
second. Counselor, can we discuss, things that are would, or, I have a committee meeting immediately.
Yes.
At their racket sports.
Yes.
Can we discuss things that went on today that may
Within a public meeting, yes.
without not being in violation of
Thank you.
some kind of law?
That would be correct, because you're still within the context of a meeting and a meeting.
Belinda, while we're waiting, the main topic of our May 10th meeting will be the Rules Committee
Oh, so you're
issues.
just gonna hang out here. You're just
And then,
gonna hang out
and also, a little prep for the budget meeting, a little.
It's the initial review.
Yep,
So
yep.
that would be our first goal.
Yep.
Just to clarify everything, we continued the public hearing, but now we're going to adjourn our regular meeting.
Mhm.
Correct. Okay, so just so that everybody's aware. So Rich, we did have a motion and we did have a second. It is 1:24 PM. All those in favor, please state aye.
Aye.
Okay, meeting adjourned at 1:24 PM.
Rich, while you were out, we moved to elect you chairman for life.